Welcome to Q&A practice. Let's get started with the defense. Ready? Did you see her in court today? Yes. Was the envelope sealed at the top? Was it sealed on both ends? I don't remember. I don't remember whether it was actually sealed shut or not. Was it folded? Yes. And the gasoline was in a plastic baggie, a plastic Ziploc baggie inside of the manila envelope. Did you see any gasoline on your hands at all? No, not that I remember. Had any of the matches ignited? No. How much of the cigarette was left? About 1.5 inches was left. Did you save the whole cigarette? After I had put the cigarette out, I put it in the trash can. Did you ever give it to the sheriffs? Yes, I did. And what about the envelope? Did you give that to the sheriffs as well? Yes. Did you see anyone else at your residence that day other than this large man that you saw from the back? No. When was the last time that Mr. Nixon talked to your mother prior to June 25? I don't remember. You indicated a couple of months prior to that time that Mr. Nixon was at the house and there was a problem at that time. Yes. Do you know whether he talked to her after that? I know there were a couple of phone conversations, but I can't remember whether those were after or before. Was your mother trying to break off the relationship with Mr. Nixon? From what I understand, my mother was trying to break it off. All right, now for a little four-voice practice. And we will start with the plaintiff. Ready? Prior to the happening of this accident, had you ever been involved in investigating any kind of an injury accident? Yes. And approximately how many injury accidents had you been involved in investigating before the accident? Approximately 15 injury collisions. And before the happening of this accident, had you been involved in investigating any property damage only accidents? Yes. And approximately how many had you been involved in before this accident? Approximately 75. Did you utilize any materials while you were at the academy? How can you explain that? Yeah, probably a bad question. And thanks for letting me know you didn't get it. While you were at the academy, did the instructors utilize any kind of PowerPoint, any kind of written materials, anything like at that? Yes. To train you? Yes. Would it be both PowerPoint and written materials? Correct. And with regard to the investigation of fatal accidents, did they use PowerPoint and written materials? Yes. Do you still have any of those written materials by chance? I don't. Okay. If I wanted to get copies of those to see what it is that the CHP trained with regard to the investigation of fatal accidents, who would I go see or check with? I believe you'd call our area office in Cyprus. Okay, and have you seen that they have copies of the materials that you used? I'm not sure of how the copies are distributed to the public. Okay, with regard to the investigation of the fatal accidents, tell me what it was that the CHP trained you to do as far as that investigation, those types of investigations. They trained me to go to the scene, document the collision, document the location of the evidence, speak with the witnesses, obtain their statements, document injuries to all parties, document damage to vehicles. Okay. Follow up with a significant other to find out a driver profile, which would be to help determine the state of mind of the driver prior to the collision, and document all on-scene emergency personnel as well as CHP employees. Okay. So you came out of the academy, and I know you were stationed at the Cypress Hills station there in Cyprus, correct? Yes. And do you go right away on patrol? You conduct it's approximately 3 months of field training with a field training officer, and that would bring us up to about July of 2013 or so. Yes. Okay. And did you have the 3 months of training? Yes. And who were your field training officers? My first field training officer was Officer Scott Strong. My second field training officer was Officer Susan Arnold, last name Arnold. My third field training officer was Officer Jim Morris, last name Morris. And about how long were you with Scott Strong? Approximately 1 month. It would be approximately 1 month for all of my field training officers for each. Okay. And did you cover the same thing with each one? Yes. And tell me what it was that you covered during your 3 months of field training. We covered vehicle dynamics, just learning how to drive the patrol car. We covered ticket writing, how to issue citations. We covered how to investigate traffic collisions and each officer's style of investigating traffic collisions. On my third phase with Officer Morris, we covered DUI investigations and officer safety issues with all 3 of them. And while you were doing the field training with the field training officers, approximately between April of 13 to July of 2014, did you have an occasion to ever go on patrol with them? Not with them as the driver. It was always myself as the driver and them being in an instruction role. Okay, you were still in kind of a mentee-mentor, correct, role. Instructor-student kind of thing. Yes. Okay, while you were in that role, did you have an occasion to actually ride along with them while they were on patrol? Yes. All right. And what areas would be the areas that you'd be riding along with them while you were in the field training part of your training? The field training with each field training officer begins with one day of me riding with them in a patrol scenario where they were patrolling and I was observing them. All right, that will conclude our Q&A practice.